In this lesson, I'm going to talk to you about flat notes and sharp notes. In a previous lesson, we talked about the 7 letters used to symbolize the musical notes in the scale. And now I'm going to talk about the in-between notes. So in an 8-note octave scale, like a C major scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 notes to get to the octave, there are more than 8 possible notes on the neck in between there. And this is what constitutes the flat and sharp notes. So let me try to make this a little bit easier. If we take a look at a note like D, there are 2 notes on either side of D, 1 fret away, that are the flats and the sharps. So a D sharp is 1 fret above a D. It's a higher note. So this is a D, and then this is a D sharp. A D flat is 1 fret down from the D. It's a lower note. D, D flat. So if I start on the open A string, and I'm going to go all the way up, all 12 frets to the octave, and I can name off all the in-between steps in between the low A and the high A. Now, at first I'm going to show you how this is done using sharp notes, and then I'll show you how it's done using flat notes. So, to begin with, A sharp, then we go to B, then when I go to the next fret, this is one of these special cases where B and C are right next to each other, so there's really no flat or sharp in between those 2 notes. So B and C, then there's a C sharp, then there's a D, then D sharp, then E, and now here's another special case. Between E and F, there are no flats or sharps. E and F, then F sharp, then G sharp, and then A again. Now if you look, there are 2 neck diagrams that show the neck listed with all the sharp notes, and then the neck listed with all the flat notes, so you can see how this works together. Now I'm going to do the same scale again up this string, but I'm going to use all flat notes. So to begin with, I start with the A. Instead of an A sharp, I'm going to call this a B flat. It's the same note, I'm just calling it something different. And I know this seems confusing now, but it will make sense in time as you learn more music theory. So here we go again. Open A, 1 fret up is a B flat, then a B. Here's the special case scenario. There's no flats or sharp between B and C. Then I go to a D flat, then a D, then an E flat, then an E. There's no flats or sharps between E and F, so this is an F right here. Then a G flat, then a G, an A flat, and then an A. So if you look at the other neck diagram that shows all the flat notes, you can see how that lays out across the A string. So the way to think of this is every note can be flat or sharp, except for the relationship between the B and the C and the E and the F. Those are the 2 special case scenarios. But all the other notes can be flat or sharp. So again, like a G, we can have a G natural, which is the normal G. We can have a G flat or a G sharp, one fret below or 1 fret above. The other thing I want to show you or talk about in this lesson is the steps, what we call whole steps and what we call half steps in music. On the bass neck, and this is also true on a guitar and most other fretted instruments, a half step is the distance between 1 fret. So from this note to this note is a half step. A whole step is 2 frets. So that's 2 frets up, that's a whole step. 1 fret up or down or whatever is a half step. So when somebody says, hey, you're a half step low, you just scoot up 1 fret, and that's a half step in distance. And we'll use those terms a lot later on when we're describing scales and that sort of stuff. So that's a basic layout of flats and sharps. Take a look at those neck diagrams and really try to commit this to memory, because it'll make learning scales and playing songs much easier when you know where all the notes are on the bass neck.